Hey everyone! For today's episode I'd like to talk about how I managed to do the recording of some of the weird drum parts on Distorgtion. So in the last episode I showed you guys how I made a really weird gritty snare patch, and I kind of did the same thing for the bass drum. However, before even being able to record these, I was kind of presented with a problem as to how I was going to do this. So there was a specific bass drum sound I was looking to get before I could even really start recording it. There is an instrumental song on the Invisible Touch album by Genesis called The Brazilian, and there's kind of a weird whoosh type bass drum sound that eventually comes in. That's essentially what I was aiming for. Now, since I had already recorded the drums all mic'd up beforehand, that left me with an audio track for the bass drum to work with, which means I couldn't trigger anything with MIDI, which could have been useful, but this wasn't the situation. I'll let you have a listen to what that bass drum track sounds like. So it's just a regular bass drum track. But I tried a lot of things to transform this into the whoosh sound that I was looking for. For example, I tried reamping this through a bunch of weird distortion pedals. I even tried reamping this through my synthesizers, but I couldn't get the sound that I wanted. Another thing that I tried was using weird effects combinations from the plugins that were already in Cakewalk. One of the combinations I attempted was to use a really squashed down compressor that boosted the volume of that track, going into a weird choppy preset on that percussion strip, and finally adding some tube saturation overdrive in Sonar's Pro channel. And it gave a sound like this. So that sounds pretty cool, but it's not the sound I was looking for. Again, I was looking more of a whoosh type of sound, like in the Genesis song. But I did have one ray of hope. I knew I could make that type of sound on my Moog Sub Phatty synthesizer, but I didn't want to play along to the track I had already recorded. I wanted to use that track so I could get the timing right to the track that I had already recorded. My question was, could I somehow trigger the sound I'd make with my audio track? Turned out that I could. Let me explain. So this picture here is a picture of the connections that are on the Sub Phatty. Usually what I do when I would reamp a track, I would plug it in to the external audio input, and this allows you to drive whatever audio track you want through the Sub Phatty's filter section. You can literally plug anything in there. You can plug a guitar or even something you've already recorded, which is what I had tried, and that didn't work out. But what I realized is, by plugging my audio input into the keyboard gate, I could trigger any sound that I'd pre-programmed on the Sub Phatty through that audio track. This means that I found a solution. Here's a demo of how it works. I've got this synth patch loaded on the Sub Phatty right now. Sounds like that. So I'll play for you the regular bass drum track. And that's what that sounds like. But now, if I route the bass drum track into the Sub Phatty's keyboard gate, here's what we get. So now I loaded up the actual kick drum patch that I made on the Sub Phatty earlier, and this is what it sounds like. So kind of reminiscent of that, the Brazilian bass drum. So now I'll play for you the original bass drum track again. And now if I route it into the Sub Phatty's keyboard gate, yeah, that's pretty cool. And I basically did the same thing with the snare patch that I made in the last episode. That's all for today's episode. If you liked, please do like the video. I'd also really appreciate any comments you guys have on this. In the next episode, which is going to be the final part of the Distorgtion drums, I'm going to talk about the overall sound and kind of compare the regular drum tracks to the new Weirded Up sounds in the new drums that are going to be in a new section of that Distorgtion song. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on that. And thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye.